Hi, we are opening up the material for week 5, which will cover chapter 4 of the textbook. I'd like to talk about the results of the midterm for a moment. The class average was 81%. The midterm is 15% of your grade. If you do not do as well as you had hoped, there's still an opportunity to improve if you do well with the rest of the material, especially in the final. On to the course. In Chapter 1, we got an overview of computer networks. We saw that there are two perspectives of the Internet. One perspective is that the Internet provides an infrastructure of support for applications. This is the view we studied in Chapters 2 and 3. In Chapter 2, we examined the application layer and how it works with 5 different applications. In Chapter 3, we looked at the transport layer. The transport layer's role is to provide communication services to the application processes running on different hosts. During this last week, we examined the first half of the chapter on security, covering the topics of cryptography, message integrity, digital signatures, and authentications. So, now we're beginning the last half of the class, where we turn our attention to the second perspective of the Internet, the nuts and bolts details. We'll also take a further look at security, studying application security, network security, and operational security. During the next 2 weeks, we'll delve into the network layer. This is the network's core. The network layer's job appears simple. Just move packets from the sending host to the receiving host. But this layer is probably the most complex of the entire protocol stack. To do this work, the network layer can be decomposed into 2 key interacting functions, forwarding and routing. This week, we will study the data plane. Next week, in Chapter 5, we'll look at the control plane details, including routing protocols and routing algorithms. After these 2 weeks, we'll be in the home stretch, and we'll cover the link layer and last half of security in computer networks. We'll be opening the last 2 weeks together in week 7 to let you have an early start on the assignments for the last week, if you so desire. Well, what are our goals for this week? We will first gain an understanding of the differences between the forwarding and routing functions. We will look inside the router and get an understanding of the methods and technologies used to get the packets flowing through the network. We will examine the IP version 4 packet formats, as well as network addressing. We will be introduced to generalized forwarding, a new paradigm of network layer implementation, where the data plane and control plane functions are realized in separate systems. This is called software-defined networking. We will then look at how IP version 6 differs from IP version 4. Finally, we'll also examine 2 protocols used in network addressing, DHCP and NAT. Just a few more comments about this chapter and the next. First, in the videos, I refer to IP datagrams and packets interchangeably, probably using the term packets more frequently. Now, note that this is the term I have used throughout my career. There is some inconsistency in the industry on how to refer to these network layer protocol data units. However, the textbook is very consistent in using the term IP datagrams. We will try to be as consistent using the term IP datagrams in all the quizzes and tests. We have added a Joe James video on IP version 6 addressing as part of the course because the textbook is rather sparse on this. We believe this is important as you will see more widespread use of IP version 6 early in your careers. And in case you have problems understanding some of the material we have provided, supplemental links are an iLearn. Finally, I'd like to reiterate what deliverables are due for this week. You will have to do the usual chapter quiz, chapter assignment, as well as your weekly journal entry. This week, you will also have 2 labs to complete. The first is the MiniNet Net Lab, which was open last week, and the second is the MiniNet DHCP lab. Thanks, and welcome to the second half of the course.